Hello, folks. This is Steve AB4L. In a way, this is a little bit of reminiscing. Now, nothing in this episode is a recommendation, nor is it a promotion. And it's not going to be about anything that's brand new. Like here, slash dot. Scientists at Fermi Lab close in on fifth force of of nature in 30 years. I've been a lot of places. I've done a lot of different kinds of jobs. And what I like about the web, especially, and search engines and stuff like that, is that sometimes I can go back and visit where I've been literally a long time ago. A really long time ago. All the way back to right after I dropped out of college, which was a long time ago. So I went to a TV station for that area. And as I'm looking at the horror stories about, it seems that whether I look at the ones here in North Carolina or places I've been, I can't get over how many people are, never mind. So 2 miles down the road that way is Cedar Falls. And there are buildings that are from 1840, the start of the textile mills. 2 miles that way, Franklinville, the old mill project. Now, those buildings burned down, but they've partially restored them because they want to show you what the textile mills in Franklinville on the Deep River were like. So that's resurrecting the past. Same thing in Ramseur. So up north, because I'm originally from up north, I'm a damn Yankee here in North Carolina, happy to call myself a North Carolinian. But back up north, there are lots of old textile mills, just like what I was talking about here, only bigger. And I do mean bigger than what was in Cedar Falls or what was in Franklinville or in Ramseur. And that's what this article's about. And I swear from this picture here, I went looking through my, I've made several thousand videos, and they don't index stuff. I'm almost sure I've made a video about this particular mill building from back at least just after this. Probably the first one was built just after the Civil War. I'm almost certain I've made a video about this one before in this place. And now I'm going to tell you, in an essence, the same story. So I'm looking around and I see this, and they're talking about an old mill getting a new life. Now, I've told you, like in Asheboro, some of the former textile and other kinds of mills have been turned into efficiency apartments. They're doing that in Greensboro, and they're putting businesses in them, and I've showed you that. A long vacant mill building is expected to undergo major renovations now that it's been sold for over $10 million. The mill building was put into an online auction that ended Wednesday. Today's early Friday morning. Its former owner put it up for sale after their plans fell through. So somebody had bought this old mill building, hoping to do something with it. But it didn't work. The previous proposal was to build out 635, let me say that number again. You've seen my videos of what the buildings were like in Cedar Falls but now imagine this. I could show you a picture of a mill building down in the center of Asheboro. I'm going to guess they have 10 efficiency apartments in it. The previous proposal was to build out 635 workforce housing units. Now that's kind of interesting wording. See, now my mind is wandering, but I'm brainstorming it. In the town that I grew up, see, one of the reasons why I really like this area, especially like Cedar Falls and Ramseur and Franklinville and the thing about the old mills and stuff like that, where I came from up north around exactly the same time, literally, they were building the textile mills in my hometown and in other towns and cities in that geographical area, as they were doing here in the Piedmont of North Carolina. Why would they duplicate? Because there were no railroads. There were no good roads. To ride the mail from Boston to Washington, D.C. on the old mail road, which is now Route 1, was horseback rider before there was a Pony Express and stagecoaches. Just down here is Old Stagecoach Road. It's not the only one called Stagecoach Road here in the Piedmont. In that town where they built the mills, they also built workforce housing. Adjacent to the mills, just like in Franklinville, just like there was in Cedar Falls, people came and built housing for the workers. At first, they were the women on nearby farms, but as the mills got larger, other people came to work in the mills. Where do you put them? They're not single-family houses like what this is. That's what we're talking about. They're wooden structures that have 4 to 6 apartments, 2 floors, across from the mill, across the street from the mill, no more than 1 block from the mill. You might have to walk across the bridge from the little rise on the other side, but that's where some of the housing was built. So they could just walk to work. The previous proposal was to build out 635 workforce housing units, mostly efficiency units, and 1-bedroom apartments. Isn't that what I kind of said was going on downtown in Asheboro? Do you see? Nothing's different around different. So that implies wherever this is, up north, in what was an old textile or other kind of manufacturing mill town. It may be revitalizing with new industries coming in, and they need a place for the workforce to live because it's getting expensive to own a real car or something. All right? And this place is right by a river, just like here, which is why I believe there was something like a textile mill because they used the river for water power. There was no electricity. And then they invented steam engines, stationary steam engines, and that replaced the paddle wheels, just like here. So we go on. So that project fell through. But with new ownership, the nearly 770,000 square foot building, 770,000 square foot building will attempt to be repurposed again. Someone who worked in the mill said they'd like to see it transform into a veterans home. Oh, so the revitalization plan to attract new investment for some kind of industry, singular or plural, falls through, but in a country with a galloping, aging population, apparently the government's got a lot of money to help veterans live in efficiency apartments if they can no longer afford to live at home because they can't keep up with mortgage payments or they can't take care of the home anymore and they need to move into something that is basically all taken care of except you just open the door and walk into your place and you don't have to worry about the lighting, the heating, mowing the grass, trimming the trees or anything. I was out today mowing the lawn. I did it twice. I mowed this section out here. I came in and I rested for 15 minutes, and then I did the landing strip in the front area there by the corner. But eventually I won't be able to do it. Which is why you see so many trucks with trailers hauling grass mowing machines. People make their livings that way. Out in the countryside. As the auction just closed, we are unaware of who the new owner is, the mayor of the city said. We look forward to see a new proposal for the reuse of the mill building, which has so much potential and is a key component to downtown revitalization. Actually, I hadn't read down to that paragraph, so I guessed correctly. He said the city is looking forward to working with the new owner on redevelopment. I was just noticing when I was downtown today to get my monthly load of prescriptions, and I was at a stoplight, I was wondering what this building was, and it's the Asheville Redevelopment Office. Nothing's different where you are, unless you live in Morocco or something. Oh, now, so they've got the address. There's the building. Now, this is not the same view as they showed in the television thing, which what actually grabbed my attention because I seem to remember doing a video about the announcement of the previous would-be developer, and they showed the same gateway. Although I thought it was actually a little further that way, and you'll see what I mean by that way. So let's just take a 360 view of where we are. I can tell by the edge of this building that it's not as old as the one in the back, and I can also tell by the depth of the sidewalk that this used to be something like a warehouse. See the doors? Down in Ramseur, remember I did the videos of the old cotton storage brick building because they had textile mills there, and the railroad ended there with a turntable to turn the engine around, and they used to get raw cotton, which they turned into thread, which they wove into fabric, and they had a cotton warehouse, and it was characterized by being a brick building with no windows and a big door, a big door, a big door, and a big door. Take a look at this building. You see any similarity in the description? Vacant lot. It's now a parking lot. What do you want to build? Bet that there were brick buildings like these here before, but they fell down, like happens every day in Philadelphia. Does that look like workers' apartments? You see the entrance here? You see the entrance there? You see the entrance there? I bet you there's one on the other end. How old do you think that building is? My guess is over 130 years. At least. Cramming the workers in there. They even lived in the lofts. You see the skylights? One, two, three, four, 5 floors. That mill building has 5 floors. And they were thinking about creating 635 efficiency units. Little more than 1.5 rooms and a communal pot to sit on to piss. Like a college dormitory. That's basically the way they're doing it downtown. Oh, and there's another mill building near where I was thinking of that's larger. It used to be a textile building. They are renting out the apartments now. Those apartments are larger, and from what I could see through the windows, people have already moved in. That project has been going on for under a year. So it's the same everywhere. Now let me show you something. And it's the reason why I'm making this and why I'm almost positive we're talking about the same building and the same project from however far back that was that fell through, and they put it up for auction and now they've resold it. Let's go down here. It's a narrow street. It was laid out when it was wagons and carriages and horses. Got it? See, it's one way. It's narrow. Now there looks like there's a gap, but there's an actual building back here. What do you think is going along here? My guess is a railroad track. Now, this is the one that I made the video about before. Not that other entrance. And what they showed in the video on the TV station news, we can't see it. I don't know where it is. But it's a facade not much different than this one, and this is the one that I made a video about. See the smile on my face? It's got a different sign over it, but it has a certain kind of similarity, doesn't it? This has a different name on it. Do you see the big arch, walk-through arch for the workers, eye hole here, smiling upside down there? That's exactly what we're seeing here. That's exactly the same. It has a different name. What does that tell us? That originally, this whole mill complex was built by the same architects. It was all one thing originally. So they've subdivided this up in the meantime. In the meantime, being at least 130 years. Let's see if there's another gate, or is that the gate I sometimes went through? What did I say? Now it changes when it was. You see this building right here? There's a bridge between these two buildings. One, two, three, four, 5 floors at least. I used to work right there a really long time ago. I used to come across this bridge and I used to park here. See the gate? And I used to work right up there in this end part of this building. So do you understand why I was interested in the news item when I saw it? Oh, the trees are just starting to turn. Oh, look at the beautiful river. And look at all the mills along the river. Do you think they used the river for water power and started their industries along here just like they did along the river, deep river 2 miles that way? At about the same time? When colonial America now was up and coming, United States of America, and more people were immigrating and families were, and there was migration around, and you had to find work for people, and if there was a limit to how much farming you could do and how much forest you could cut down for lumber, and then you had to start getting into consumer goods. And there were no railroads yet. So all those consumer good industries, all of them had to be built locally rather than there being a big specialty state in it that distributed it to the rest of the world. Because the only way that stuff could be really transported conveniently for long distance selling as if they had rivers with barges and lakes with barges. Otherwise, they had to do it the way they did here in this part of North Carolina and build plank roads, because the beautiful red clay-like soil, when it rains, turns to mud. And if you have steel-rimmed wagon wheels, they sink in and you can't go anywhere. See how important the railroads were? It's cheaper to build a railroad bed than it is to build a road system that's paved. See, I'm going on and on. When I came to North Carolina shortly later, a Republican governor got elected and he promised a major roads project, and he said that during his term he hoped that when those roads that he's pushing and getting the legislature to do it would make it possible for every single person living in North Carolina to be within 20 minutes of driving to get on a road that actually went somewhere. I'm quoting it. That wasn't 100 years ago. It's easier to build a railroad. And by building railroads back then, they didn't have to invest heavily in good roads. But they finally had to, only because automobiles, and in particular tires on gasoline engine trucks, you got to think of these things and how they happen. So that could be the Deep River, except it's up north. Those mill buildings, except that they're gigantic, could be up in Greensboro. They got them that size up in Greensboro, not down here. Okay? And a really long time ago, I worked in this building on the third floor down at that corner. Steve A. B. Foriel, just having fun, saying see you in 73.